Hello and welcome. My name is Michael Mirdad. These are our Friday night presentations. This is part of our new series, which are sort of like 10-minute power-packed presentations. And the topics will always vary depending on the moment, the questions in the world and the minds of the people watching and so on. And today we're going to talk about something that's apropos, whether it's apropos because of something going on in your life, or it happens to be just right on because of the seasons going on, the seasons themselves. But what we're going to talk about is something that I think challenges people at times. I've done many workshops, many seminars, many lectures, presentations of various kinds related to, let's call it rebuilding a new life, or letting go of the past, or patching leaks. These are all sort of similar because they all tie in together. The bottom line is that the life we have had, and often the life that we do have, will determine the life we have tomorrow. Very little change from today and yesterday will bring very little change tomorrow. The more you want to see a different life tomorrow, and even if your life is good, what's wrong with great? If your life is great, what's wrong with stellar, right? So there's always room for betterment. And if you think there isn't, you may not quite understand God, because God's a bit greater consciousness than you, even on your best days. So do not stop until complete oneness with God. That doesn't mean I'm saying that you should be obsessive about making changes or about like judging, demeaning yourself as you have been in the past. Simply recognize it's not as good as it gets. So God, or sometimes we could say the Divine Mother, the Holy Spirit, or even Christ consciousness, asks that we consistently work to clear out debris, clutter, even just patterns of the past from our lives and from our minds. All right, so clearly it's not just external stuff like clean up hoarding or drawers that are sort of messy. My mind, my consciousness, my behaviors, my patterns, clean up my side of the street, as some people would say. This makes room for a greater quantity of God. There can't be a darn thing wrong with that if you think about it. Just like, wow, the more I make room, the more new can come to me. And we're asked to be willing to let go of anything and everything that Spirit would try to remove from us. Now, some people go, oh, God's really kicking my butt. God's taking this. God took my husband from me. God took my boyfriend, my girlfriend. God took my money. This has nothing to do with God, believe it or not. This has to do with there's a part of you that wants to stay broken and a part of you or us that wants to awaken. The part that wants to awaken is going to say, hey, part that wants to stay broken, guess what? We're not going to have this. You get on board, let's go, or you're going to be left behind. And when it says there's going to be a part of you left behind, it means part of your patterns, part of your even your possessions that you're attached to, because the higher self will always prevail. The lower self can drag its feet. It can grab onto things and scream and cry as changes are happening, but it can never prevail over your higher good. This has to do obviously with addictions, releasing old patterns, as I said, or relations, things that are just not serving us. Some people will say they no longer serve you. I would even say they probably never did. Your higher self, serving your higher self. Did they ever serve you at all? Yeah, they served your low self-esteem patterns and so forth. But why would you want to keep that, right? So we want to make room for God, a better life. So we're asked to just be willing, and it's amazing to me because it's a great test of faith. If we're going to let go of anything that Spirit would like to remove from us, here's what we do typically as human beings. First of all, first option, no, period. I will not let go. Nothing can make me let go of that person that I wanted to keep in my life. Nothing's going to let me let go of the business somebody stole from me, or the client somebody stole from me, or whatever. Even my virginity, my happiness, my childhood, those things hurt. But why would we want to clench on them and hold the pain? A sane, healthy person wouldn't. A wounded, hurt, sad person, yeah, they might, but this too will pass. There'll become a day when they go, I'm trying to swim into a new life and I'm finding myself being dragged under the water. That's not a great swimming lesson, is it? So I think I'd like to not drown and instead cut the line and be free. And everybody comes to that decision eventually. As they say, it's just a matter of where do you reach bottom? You know, we get to decide when enough is enough. So clearly, if this is the way we're going to play this, it shows that what we're doing is trying to be in control. Trying to let go and receive a new life from spirit is not exactly consistent, congruent with, or in alignment with, the other. I mean, you can't want to hold on and create a new life at the same time. So it's not consistent. There has to be a recognition. This is not doing me well. The hate, the hurt, whatever it happens to be. So, we've got to make room, but we've got to demonstrate trust. And here's why. You're either going to say, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to let go of something, or I'll let it go as long as I get to determine what new things coming in. So what do you got there? Let me see. Okay, God, show me a little. Okay, let's see. Let's see. I'll give you half and you give me half. That's not the way this is done. And then we then feel in pain because the hand of God, steps away and we go, wait a minute, but now I don't get any change. God, why didn't you give me the change I wanted in my life? Why didn't you give me the lottery ticket? Why didn't you give me new love? Why didn't you give me health, healing, whatever? Or you'll say, God, took it away. If God didn't not give it, God took it from, God took my relationship. And that's not the way this works. The higher self is saying, what do you mean God took it? Let me ask you a few questions. Were you in love? Well, I'm not sure. Were you happy? No. So. Okay. Could you see yourself with them 20 more years? Oh, definitely not. Then what's the problem? Well, they broke up with me. I should have been the one to break it. See, it's ego. Okay. It's just ego. And I understand. I mean, it's hurt talking, but it is not God talking. God doesn't say, are you in love? Oh, excellent. Because I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it away just to bother you. That's not God. That is the God of some religions, the superstition that God hates you and is out to get you. That is our ego-based God, but not the God of love. So it's really a test in trust to say, you know what? I can tell something's changing in my life. I'm going to go ahead and do my best to let go of control and say, your will be done. And God's will, trust, is always, always better than our will. Because there's only two voices, God and ego. In what way would the ego ever have a better idea than God? It would not. So we have to learn to shift our alliances or our trust in what we trust as a guide. So more often than not, we refuse to really turn things over. So instead of trusting, we're still subtly controlling, and that means the ego is still involved, which means things are going to go a bit south. Now, another way to look at this would be using terminology from Hinduism. That doesn't mean I'm Hindu or you have to be Hindu. It's just using stories or metaphors. In Hinduism, the Trinity of God is seen as the creator, Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. So it's interesting, though, because some of us in the West, we would say the father, this is what we end up inadvertently doing. The father is the creator, the mother is the destroyer. Nice one. Nice one to pin on the mother. Once again, she ends up taking the negative hit. Take the word destroyer out. In yin and yang, we even have that concept. One creates, the other will destroy, and then rebirth. But before every rebirth, there has to be a death or destruction. It's a very negative connotation. So try this one on. How about the gardener instead of Hinduism and saying Michael's a Hindu, apparently. Now I'll use gardening, and now you're going to say Michael's a pagan or a gardener, and I'm neither. So in gardening, how about using that for God and say there is God that plants seeds, God that maintains the garden, and God that tills the soil to prepare for a new season. Perfecto. See, that's easier to wrap our minds around, isn't it? There's God, the Trinity of God. And so when a relationship's going, something's simply, the season is changing. Something's, turning the soil. It isn't God taking, it's dead. The seeds, the flowers, the whatever. It needs tilled under so it can create something better. But human beings, they rarely want to see things that way. They want to believe that they're victims. They want to say, no, I don't like this Trinity soil thing. I want to believe I planted seeds, someone else came to my garden and trampled them, and that's why I don't have a garden this year. Do that if you want. It can give you an excuse for a little while to, not have a better life, but it's not going to make you happy. So think twice about, maintaining that kind of a concept. So another way to look at this is simply this, and I'll be closing in a moment. Whenever a child of God forgets the expansiveness, God is only expansive, but in the world of duality, God will appear expansive and contracting or contracting. So God, they say in the Bible, gives, and the Lord God taketh away. No, that's true the way God is experienced in a world of duality. God actually gives, and then gives, and then gives, and then gives. And if you don't believe me, imagine a decent parent. If there's a really good, loving parent, and you say, honey, guess what? I got you something for Christmas. Now, I want something back. That doesn't really make sense for a healthy parent, okay? So what you want to do instead, imagine a God that gives and gives and gives and gives and gives. However, in this world, we experience God as duality. So that means somebody's taking away, but it isn't God. What happens is God gives and we receive, and it's all expansive. And then if we start to get attached to what was given, you could say the mother aspect comes in and says, honey, I'm going to help you with your attachment, which means sometimes us manifesting something being taken or turned under the soil so that new life can come. So think of it that way as well. As soon as I start to grab something, grasping onto it, attaching, controlling, holding it, thinking I'm in charge of it or owning it, you've already sent a signal to the universe. Please find a way to take this away. Now, why would you do that? It's your higher self saying, beloved, you're starting to lower yourself, demean yourself again by attaching. By attaching, what you're doing is saying you're already not enough. So the only way you can be enough is by taking from another or taking something and trying to possess it, which would be a negative reinforced concept. So the mother doesn't want you to believe that. So she wants to help you say, hey, I'll tell you what, sweetheart, let's let that go and create something new, which if you're using the parent analogy again, would be like the universe or a good mother saying, hey, listen, I want to get you 5 new toys, but you have a few that are broken. Let's get rid of those, or let's get one and it's nice and it's not broken. Let's give it to a children's charity of some kind. So that would be a nice example of giving and not something being taken away, but you participating in the giving. So think about this. The fruit that you miss, that on the tree, it falls, fine, let it go. You're not losing it, till it under, it's going to add to your harvest next year. The more we give, the more we receive. That's a divine law and concept that is greater than these laws that we read about, hear about, watch, see, related to manifestation, law of attraction, that people think you just put it out there and keep receiving. That's way lopsided. You don't want to get spiritually greedy. You don't want your ego subtly controlling everything again. Get into the mind of God and recognize the value of giving and allow yourself to get into the whole, that whole program, so to speak, of giving and expansiveness. When things start to shut down, where am I attached? Where do I need to give? Where do I need to release to break the cycle of what's starting to clench around me? If your finances start to shut down, there are some villages in certain countries that say if our village starts to suffer, whether it's harvests or money, then we need to find a way to give some more, break the cycle of contraction, which is also, of course, fear related. God, love, ego, fear. God expands, ego contracts. So although in this world, there's a place for both expansion, contraction, and so on, in reality, there's just the giving of God. So you could learn to see giving and loss or taking, if you want to call it that, as one cycle of giving. I pray that makes sense to you all and that helps you in some way. God bless you. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can watch these programs. They're offered freely. If you would like to make donations, that is so blessed and so appreciated. Giving is a blessing, isn't it? So join us here. Join us Sunday Sacred Services from Unity of Sedona live every Sunday. It's 10 o'clock Arizona time, which varies because they don't do daylight savings in Arizona. Okay, so you can watch us there, join our programs. You can go to my website, michaelmirdad.com, and see free articles, all kinds of free videos you can watch, as well as on YouTube. There's a whole heap of playlists on YouTube. All right, so God bless. We'll see you all soon, I hope. Bye-bye.